Greetings, loved ones. Survivors of domestic violence take longer to heal from emotional abuse they experience than the physical. Many people think of horrific physical abuse when they hear about domestic violence, but many survivors suffer silently through verbal and emotional abuse every single day. Today we're going to discuss the invisible scars of domestic violence. The goal of these trainings is for people who suffer violence to recognize their situation and find the help they need to leave their situation. And for those who don't suffer violence, to be able to recognize those around them who are suffering and help them to leave their violent situation. So help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single episode. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit that like button, and please share these messages with others, because you never know, just by doing so, you could save a life. A survivor shared her story, and we're going to call her Survivor A, and I'm going to share her story right now. She says, I 100% believe that the emotional and verbal will last with you for a lifetime, Survivor A said. If you're in a vulnerable situation and they get you at your most vulnerable, you are already feeling torn down. She says you are already telling yourself these bad things about yourself, and now you have someone else who is supposed to love you saying the same things and saying, I am doing this because I love you. Survivor A said the first weeks of her relationship were great. Her boyfriend was charming and charismatic, but then it all stopped. And no matter what happened, she says, she was made to feel like everything was her fault. Over time, Survivor A said she was isolated from her family, forced to quit social media and check in on all the time. She says, people had been telling me, you lost your confidence. You're kind of closed off from us. She says, so I'd been thinking something wasn't right, and I had finally given up hope that things are going to change. It is going to get better and be like it was in the beginning. The silver lining to that cloud, she says, is that I have learned one red flag is enough. There shouldn't be any. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, psychological abuse causes long-term damage to a victim's mental health. Studies show 7 out of 10 psychologically abused women display symptoms of PTSD, depression, or both. And prolonged abuse can lead to low self-esteem, suicidal thoughts, difficulty trusting others, and poor physical health. Roseanne Cupoli, Chief Program Officer at the Spring of Tampa Bay, says that somebody telling you that you are stupid or dumb, or you are fat, or you are ugly, every single day is going to wear away at that individual's self-esteem and spirit. She says when a survivor makes that very courageous step to exit the relationship, they think that the abuse stops, and it typically does not. For nearly 2 decades, Cupoli has helped survivors get their life back, and she says, many survivors who I knew had endured really horrific physical violence, but oftentimes the tape that was playing in their head was the verbal abuse and the emotional abuse. Cupoli says the name calling, that was the stuff that was being played over and over and over and over in their head that we would walk through. Founded in 1977, the Spring of Tampa Bay writes in their mission statement that they've provided a safe haven and comprehensive supportive services to more than 60,000 abused adults and their children, and we've answered calls all hours of the day and night from well over 150,000 women in crisis. I want to make a comment about the play in the head. Growing up with psychological abuse and being told I'm not good enough, no matter what I did wasn't good enough, my entire life was that nobody loved me. I'm not worth loving. And I can't do this because I'm not worthy. I'm not capable. These are the things that play in my head. Even today, years, decades after the domestic violence, and even after leaving, cutting off with the toxic people in my life. And I have to remind myself every time, even doing these videos, it's like, oh, who's going to listen to these? You're not important, but then I would remember, yeah, I am a daughter of the Most High King, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and I am valued, I am beautiful, I am wonderful, and God only has the right to define me. And it's a mind battle that continues It gets easier with time to do the battle, and then there are times where you can do things and you don't hear those words in your head. But yes, it takes a long time. I just want to share that personal experience with you. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, studies show that 7 out of 10 psychologically abused women display symptoms of PSTD, depression, or both. I shared that at the beginning. Victims of psychological abuse often experience depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, suicidal ideation, low self-esteem, and difficulty trusting others. How can you trust a person when the person who you love and should be protecting you is being violent against you? Subtle psychological abuse is more harmful than either overt psychological abuse or direct aggression. So if you're not experiencing violence, I want you to know that you will encounter someone who is, because 1 in 3 women worldwide suffer violence, 1 in 4 in the United States. You need to do something. The question is not if you will encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do? I'm pointing my finger, but what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice, and those who suffer violence, they need to know that those who love them and those who don't even know them will step out and reach out to them to give them the help and the courage they need to leave before it's too late, before they're murdered. This series is dedicated in honor of Gabby Petito, a bright young woman whom the world has lost because of gender violence. Please check out and support the foundation her family has created in her honor at GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. My husband and I, we support this foundation. If you're a victim of violence, I want you to hear me. Listen to my voice right now. Pay close attention. I want you to know that you are valued. You are loved. You're intelligent. You are beautiful. There is a way out, and God does not want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence in peace and tranquility. There is a way out. It's not your fault. And someone who says they love you, but then abuses you, is lying to you. If they say they're going to change, that's a lie too, because they never change. If you're a victim of violence, please reach out to somebody. Keep reaching out to somebody until there's somebody who actually helps you to get yourself to a safe position. If you're in danger, call 911 for help immediately. The purpose of these messages is for those who suffer violence to recognize their situation and get the help they need to get to safety. It's also for those who don't suffer violence to recognize those around them who are, and you're going to encounter them. 1 in 3 women worldwide suffer violence. So I want you to help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single one, so you can continue learning about domestic violence. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit that like button, and please share these messages with others, because you never know. Just by doing so, you could save a life. Someone may see it, recognize their situation, and get the help they need. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how domestic violence affects children. Until then, God bless you.